as an engineer, part of what makes me successful as an engineer is what I know. But also what makes me successful as an engineer is how I approach problems. So this is the beginning of my engineering career. In this picture, I'm about 18 years old. I'm a high school dropout. I had never picked up a hammer prior to this or done any kind of construction. And my mom wanted a deck, or wanted her deck rebuilt, and so I volunteered. And what I did is I went to the local hardware store and I got a book on building decks. And I read that book and I browbeat the guy at the local hardware store with all the questions I had on how to build decks. So that's the deck. This is in the age of digital cameras, or not digital cameras. So, as I was building this deck, one of the things that occurred to me is that if I asked enough questions, that I could acquire a skill in an area that was not within my normal skill set. And that is a key attribute that I bring into engineering with me, is asking questions on a daily basis. The other thing is anybody that's done any construction, it never goes as planned. There's always mistakes. There's always things that you have to work around. Imperfections are concealed within it, and you just have to work past those. So I used to be a skydiver, and I'd love to sit up here and tell you that the first time I jumped out of an airplane that I wasn't terrified. I was absolutely terrified. Going up in the plane was probably the most intense part of the skydive. But what I learned from this experience of skydiving is I could do things even when I was scared of doing them. And that's another thing that I bring with me into engineering. The last thing I want to There we go. Last thing I want to show up here is about a year and a half ago, about 3 years ago, both my kids started playing hockey. And I grew up playing hockey, and my children getting back into hockey kind of encouraged me to get back into it. So about a year and a half ago, I was doing a job, and I was sitting in my office working, and on a break, I went to Craigslist, and I found some used hockey equipment. And then I subsequently went upstairs and tried to proceed to tell my wife, or convince my wife, that I wasn't having a midlife crisis, and that at 41 years of age, I should go out and buy a bunch of hockey equipment and start playing hockey again. So in this picture here, that's actually my oldest son. This was my first time back on the ice. I had convinced my friend from work to come and meet me at the local ice arena, or the local outdoor ice rink. And on the first shot that he's a player, on the first shot that he took on me, I went down, I heard a loud pop, which was actually my MCL tearing in my right knee. So what this taught me again, and this is something that I bring with me into work every day, is that I'm going to fail a lot. And my successes are usually a result of a number of failures prior to those successes. So I kind of had delusions of grandeur. I mean, when I went out and bought this hockey equipment, I assumed that the Minnesota Wild were going to call me up and I was going to be the backup goalie and I'd have to step in and we'd make it to the Stanley Cup. That didn't happen. But I did get to play at the Excel Center, which is where the Minnesota Wild play with a bunch of friends, which was pretty cool. So those 3 skills are really what I take with me into my daily life as an engineer that I believe make me successful in my job. Willing to ask questions, willing to do something that scares me, and willing to work through failure.